Hello class and welcome to the instructions walkthrough and AI policies about the first creative project, the artist profile. Now this is a new video in this iteration of the course because I wanted to state very clearly what is and is not acceptable for use in AI. This is in the syllabus, but I know it's a little spotty whether or not some of you do read the syllabus. So I thought I would take you through exactly how I envision AI being potentially used in the course and some uses which I would prohibit. So just in general, I want to emphasize that the purpose of this project is to have you creatively express your research on a particular artist using an Adobe Portfolio website. This is something then that is less reliant on sort of formal writing the way that a paper might be, and so it's going to be less grading on like your grammar and your exact the form of your paragraphs within your argument, and more on your creative expression. So this is really tapping into the human things that only you as a student will be able to do here. So with that, I really want to take the pressure off having this perfectly wordsmith sort of formal essay, and I'm really much more interested in hearing your genuine thoughts in your own creative voice. So I'm really hoping that this encourages you to use your own words, your genuine reactions and thoughts, not those that are sort of being fed to you by another source, such as generative AI. Because the assignments of the course are built in this progressive way to help you reason about music and to help you talk about music, it would short-circuit that learning process and really sabotage it if you were to just use another source such as AI to try to do your assignment for you. And besides the point, I want to emphasize, as I have throughout the semester, that AI does not have ears. Only you do. As I mentioned in the course introduction video, this means that you are already much better equipped to address the questions that are being asked of you in this assignment and in your video discussion listening assignments than AI ever will be. This is especially true now that you've watched the Elements of Music and Tuning In videos, so you have a much clearer idea of what each musical parameter means and how you apply it to actual tracks that you listen to. AI does not have this knowledge. For example, one of the most common errors that I've seen AI make, because again, it does not have ears, is saying that, for example, the harmony in Beyonce's voice or Beyonce's harmonious voice blends well with the rest of the track. Well, we can see that the problem with this is that harmony is a property of multiple voices, multiple instruments or parts of the track, not just a part of one voice. You can talk about the melody that a singer might carry, but to say that there is harmony, that is something like a chord with multiple notes being played at once in one singer's voice, is impossible unless the singer is a Tuvan Doch singer that is trained in singing multiphonics, which is not true for the vast majority of artists that we listen to. Moral of the story, the AI utterly fails to do even the most basic bits of musical analyses. It may sound convincing to your ears just sort of reading the words and seeing how they're strung together, but underneath there's no substance. And this is because, as I've been saying all along, the AI does not have ears, but you do. So use yours to analyze and talk about the music of the artist that you choose, which I'm hoping you'll have a personal connection with, since I'm allowing you to choose just about any artist that you wish to write about. Now, with that out of the way, I do actually want to show ways that you can productively use AI in this assignment and in your final project assignment, because I am a fair bit more accepting of AI than other professors might be at UTSA or elsewhere. Alright, so what we see here is Microsoft Copilot, which is the generative AI that UTSA has given access to for the faculty and staff. Students, you might have access to some other services or just using sort of ChatGPT on your own, but that would have to come up on a case-by-case basis. Now, the first way that you can helpfully use AI is to help you scout sources. It's essentially like an enhanced Google search. Now, it's important when you do this to ask the AI to give you links, not just asking for a set of facts or even to give you facts with some footnotes, because the AI makes a lot of errors in footnoting. Instead, what you should do is ask it for links, then navigate to them yourselves, read what the AI has recommended about them, and then cite the source directly. So, in other words, see if the source is credible or not and worthy of inclusion in your project. So let's say I'm doing a project on Taylor Swift, and I want to include a page on Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. So here now I've asked the AI, could you give me 5 to 10 credible sources about the details, impact, and music of Taylor Swift's Eras Tour? Again, the important thing here is I'm not asking the AI to just sort of do it for me, to either give me a description or give me a paragraph that I can copy and paste. I'm asking it for sources that I can then follow up on and incorporate into my own writing. As it's populating here, it's also important that I asked it for credible sources. So to the best of its ability, it's going to try to get me sources that won't just sort of be opinions or won't be forum posts, but have sort of some more weight and veracity to them. So let's see what we've received here from the AI. First of all, there is a set list for the Eras tour. That seems potentially helpful because the set list tended to sort of change or vacillate depending on the location and the time of the tour. So we'll just command click and it will open in a new tab within my browser. We see Wikipedia here, and I want to give the same caution about Wikipedia that I would give about AI, namely that it is very easy to edit Wikipedia information, and there have been many pages that have less than credible information on Wikipedia. But what you can do when you're doing your research is scroll to the bottom of a Wikipedia page, and just like we're doing here, use the sources that Wikipedia cites out for to try to evaluate yourself. So, for example, if you're looking at the Eras Tour on Wikipedia, scroll to the bottom where the bibliography is, and then find credible sources out through Wikipedia. So it could serve more like a hub or a Google search rather than just citing Wikipedia, which is not really academically reputable. So we continue on, and here's a Time article for the economic impact that seems worth checking out. Newsweek, economic boost from the Eras Tour. I'm not so sure about this one, actually. Fast Company, Swiftonomics, and the 2 billion tour. We may not end up needing that if the Time and Newsweek sources are good enough. Billboard certainly would be a good source to use. So the Billboard 200, Billboard 100, these are ratings for songs, popular music songs, and it looks like tours and live performances as well. So I'd want to see how the stats from Billboard. Rotten Tomatoes, maybe that has to do with the in-theater showing of the tour as a film. So potentially could help if you were sort of covering that aspect in particular. Continuing on, we have, I'm not sure what this source is, so it would definitely be worth checking out. Ulala Productions, Behind the Scenes. So that certainly would be a helpful source if we deem it to be credible, because it could speak to some of the production aspects of the show. You see how I'm like sifting these sources further so that taking everything with a grain of salt, so it's not just have the AI sort of give you a list that you then put into your paper. You see how I'm sort of sifting these sources further so it's not just take AI's word for it and drop everything into your paper. And then finally down here we have Northeastern University. Now, usually seeing academic sources like university library sources or professors writing is very helpful. What we do maybe want to do is check to make sure it's not just like a student editorial newspaper. So let's actually check that out. Okay, and so checking out the article, I actually did a little bit of background research in the meantime, and Northeastern Global News is like the equivalent of UTSA Today, the publishing outlet for Northeastern University, so it seems pretty credible. Good journalism would be followed there. So you can then read more and then find things to cite from there. While we're on the topic of citation, since this always comes up in my email correspondence with students, anytime that you're citing information that did not originate with you, either it's a quote from someone else, or maybe it's an insight from a musical analysis, or maybe it's just a statistic or figure about the thing that you're covering, like a billboard placement, you need to cite that example. Now, it could be as simple as, in this case of the Northeastern Global News article, just citing the author's last name, Kayata here, and the date, so Kayata 2024, and then in your further reading page, which is going to be your full works cited bibliography, then you'll cite the full source, which you can do in MLA or Chicago Turabian or any format that you prefer. What it should have for sure, though, is the URL, in addition to the source, the title, the author. You can see some examples in the instructions. All right, so that's one approved use of AI for this course, using it to sort of gather potential sources, which you then will process and judge their credibility for yourself. Make sure you specify that you want links and that you also are trying to look for credible sources. The other way that I'll allow you to use generative AI in this course is as a writing coach to help you polish your writing. Now, as I mentioned at the outset, I don't want you to be sweating on perfecting your writing so much that you feel the temptation to have AI just do all the writing for you. But what you can do is use it to expedite some time in the proofreading process by sort of putting your thoughts more naturally on the page and then seeing what suggestions AI might have to improve your writing, as long as you are ultimately the one sort of accepting or rejecting or further modifying those changes yourself. So what I'm going to do now is write a sentence like very stream of consciousness, like just getting all my thoughts out on the page and then seeing what AI might do to help me refine the sentence. So usually what I like to do is ask, help me refine the wording of this sentence. And then, I just set quotes so that it knows what is the sentence in particular. And then let's just do this really stream of consciousness. So I'm deliberately trying to write kind of casually and maybe with some errors here, which is kind of tough for me. Let's see. I think Taylor Swift's the GOAT because her Eras tour broke records with $2 billion and 10 million people saw it, period. Okay, so what I'm trying to do there is just sort of make a run-on sentence, needs more punctuation, has some informalities like the cuz in there. So let's see what AI suggests to do to help refine this sentence. Notice I'm still responsible for the ideas that I put in there. It's just AI that's helping me fine-tune the wording and the form a little bit. All right, so this is what Copilot's giving back to me. It says now, I think Taylor Swift is the GOAT, M dash. Her Eras tour shattered records, grossing over $2 billion and drawing more than 10 million fans worldwide. It's already significantly better than what I put in. So usually I don't just like take it and copy and paste it into my own thing, but I further work with the AI to refine it. So for example, it asks me, would you like it to sound more casual, academic, or persuasive? Let's try more academic in tone, please. So what's it going to do here? Probably take out the GOAT, that's for one thing. Now it says Taylor Swift's status as a general... Now it reads as follows. Taylor Swift's status as a generational icon is underscored by the unprecedented success of her Eras tour, which generated over $2 billion in revenue and attracted more than 10 million attendees globally. So that's all right. It definitely had some improvements, like taking out the GOAT, which was probably overly casual. Again, I don't need super formal language here, but GOAT probably isn't, the best thing to have in a university project. So why don't we now kind of try to go in between these two? So what I'm going to do is just say, how about, and then write a new version sort of in between these two. About Taylor Swift. So I'm trying to sort of take some of the ideas that have been given in both of these versions. Taylor Swift's greatness as a musical artist is shown, and then we're going to sort of take from the second one here, by the unprecedented success of her Eras tour. And then how about which shattered records by making... I kind of like grossing for the first one, though. So making over $2 billion. And I like the worldwide from the first one. So now I'm kind of drawing from the original. And selling more than 10 million tickets worldwide. So let's see what AI says to this. I'll probably offer one last version, and then we'll probably sit on that. So now it says, your revised sentence is strong and clear. Here's a slightly more polished academic version. So let's see what we get here. Taylor Swift's Taylor Swift's stature as a musical artist is exemplified by the unprecedented success of her Eras tour, which shattered records by grossing over $2 billion and selling more than 10 million tickets worldwide. So now you can see our two versions kind of coming together. I don't really like the new changes that it's put in. So this is a good example of maybe a place where you say, I've taken the AI far enough as far as it needs to go. Now I'm ready to sort of offer my own version and use it as a catalyst for getting there, but not just taking exactly what the AI gave you the first time. So now here maybe I do keep stature, Taylor Swift's, let's see, so I decided to go with this, and then Taylor Swift's stature as a musical artist, probably a little better than greatness, is shown. I want to keep shown. Exemplified to me sounds too stilted here. Unprecedented success of her Eras tour, all the same, which shattered records by grossing. And it basically the end of this is the same as what I put it in the first time. Okay, so correct a couple spelling things here, which it does mark. And now we have sort of a final version of this sentence. So you can see how we've gone through an iterative process with the AI. We haven't just sort of taken its word for it or asked it to do something for us. And it's actually become a catalyst to our own learning and polishing our own writing. So that's, I think, maybe the second and possibly main way that I would recommend using AI in your own learning. Please do not take this as a blanket statement. You know, Professor Yi in music said we can use AI like this for all UTSA classes. If you're in an English composition course where the point is for you to learn how to write well and polished on your own, then you're probably not going to be allowed by the professor to use AI to help polish your writing. But in this class, it's okay. The last bit that I want to showcase is Adobe Portfolio. Now, I won't be able to give you a full tour of everything Portfolio is capable of because it's just a lot. It's a very deep program, and I've given you some other documentation there. But I want to just point out a few things that I would really like to see you incorporate into your own portfolios. So a couple things here. One, in this example, which I used to show some of my students' past work, we are shying away from sort of the scrolling layout of just like one long page with different points of information in this sort of thread-like fashion. I tend to see that as most effective in a portfolio. Instead, what I've done is placed sort of an enlarged photo here on the left, and then a title, headers, right? So big header, and then a subheader here. Some important bullet text here, just giving a description of the course, and then just some links here that are going to go to different pages. So it's important, I think, to think of your portfolio as a website with multiple trees of pages, because the less that any one page has to do and less burden it has to carry, the better. It should be just like any other website, something that you can click off into other pages to see more specific organization. The other thing I want to highlight here is that I left the text quite large. I don't have to squint and try to look in at like size 8 text to try to see what it is you're writing because you've tried to fit so much into it. Less is more when it comes to web design. And so here just having sort of one paragraph say exactly what needs to be said and then pages to send you on to other locations is, I think, the way to go. And big text really helps to catch the eye and to show what the page is about. Now I'm showing a different page, one that will let me showcase the features a little more. So this is a sort of 4 subpage using image as a hyperlink organization. So I have the class title up here, just the title. Then we have 4 different pictures down below that really encapsulates what each of the subpages do in the navigation. I've programmed it to, if you hover over the picture, then it will pop up with the description. So here there's the assignment, website blog 1, the artist profile, over here, creative analysis 1, podcast. So you can see this for each of the pages in the navigation. And this is, I think, really cool and effective. If I click on one of the pages, like let's say the poster presentation expo here, it will go to another page. And here I'm using the format of the photo gallery, which you can also access. So here, in addition to some introductory text and the prompt here, we then see a lot of photos. So the photos actually kind of tell the story more than the text does. I think that's important, and when it comes to your artist profile, you definitely want to think about how photos can help you tell your story, as well as things like audio embeds, which I'll show you kind of how to do. So jumping back over to the previous site, here you'll see some audio embeds and how they work. So I've highlighted some student projects, and there is quite a bit of text here, mostly because this is their descriptions of their projects. But here we have an audio embed, which in this case was just uploading a file. In your case might be actually putting in a link to like a Spotify or a YouTube clip. But here, if I click this, it will just start to play. Where do we go? So this can be a really helpful tool, especially if you're trying to highlight a particular aspect about the artist's music and their style, or a particular track. So now I went to a blank page where I want to show you a little bit about how you add content. So first of all, if you go to add page, this is just sort of the default page. We're going to call this introduction, something like that. Navigation, that's fine. Create page. So now it's going to take me here. This is a blank page. And what I want to do is show you how to add in content and start to change things. Any element that you see here is one that can be clicked on and say edit. So edit page info, and call it introduction and biography. Okay, page container here. So start building your page. We have image, we have text, we have audio, we have embeds. I'll show off the embeds in just a bit. Why don't we add an image here? So image, and I'm going to go find a headshot for me. Okay, so now we went ahead and added a headshot of me. It's a bit large, so I feel like maybe we can do some adjustments here. So if I click the item here down to width, alignment, and margins, this is going to allow us to decide its proportions, right? So if I just shrink the proportion of width, essentially this is going to scale it to how I might want it to be. So why don't we just try it at 40%? Okay. And now you'll see a couple things, and I often have to talk students through how to use this part of the tool. You'll see a plus on the left side and a plus on the right side. That means adding content to the left or to the right of this particular image. So if I just assume for a sec that we want to have the picture on the left, we would be adding maybe text in on the right. So in click, and now you'll see again that range of options. So text, now it's going to sort of shrink that to split the two, and I can add text. Thomas B. Lee, composer, biography. Of course, you can alter the font. If I just highlight over it, it's going to give me some choices, right? So I can go down and change the font to whatever I want, change the size, maybe give it an underline, all the usual things you'd expect in a word processor. All right, now in order to continue adding things, you'll notice that what we're usually looking for is this plus. And sometimes you have to mouse over the border between two things in order to see the plus. So if I go between the header and the photo project, I'll see a plus. And why don't we try a button? So here we click the button. So we'll call this piece recordings, if it would be a link to another page, which is what we're doing. So then it says link to, so you can definitely put in other URLs, like to show your sources, for example. But maybe I want to actually link to another page within the within the portfolio. So now instead of external URL, I would select, let's say, collection work. That seems like a good place to put piece recordings. Again, can edit the font however I want. Make it 18. Now make it 24. Okay. Can edit the colors as well. And this would be in the normal tab here. You can change the text, or why don't we just change the color for now to blue. So now we can make the button blue there. Okay. So that's how you add a button, and one that actually links to another page. When I just clicked on it, it took me to this page. Now, last thing I want to show before in this particular video is the embed. So if you hit plus and you go to embed, this is going to give you just like sort of this blank thing for embed code. The useful thing here is that you can embed things like SoundCloud, like Spotify, or like YouTube if you go and find the YouTube code that would be appropriate for that, or SoundCloud code. Most things will have an embed feature with code that you can just paste in. So let's say we want to put my piece Concerto Ludus here into the portfolio right there. So we go down to share to get the link, but select embed as the option, and you'll see there's a whole lot of code that comes out. You can finesse this further if you kind of know a thing or two about code. I've done a little bit of like changing the frame size in the past, but for now I'm just going to recommend copying it all and taking it back to your Adobe portfolio. Paste it in the embed code, save embed, and there you go. There is a embed of the video. You'll notice that you can hit play and it will actually play the video. So this is a good way to get, I think, recordings onto your site in order to show, for example, snippets of a piece. You can even, when you make the link, say start at whatever the timestamp you want is, that way you can really hone in on a particular excerpt. Lastly, I just want to go over page aesthetics and coloring because right now it's very boring. So if I go to page background, you'll notice that I can actually upload an image for a background, which might give you some ideas or options. I can also check include background color, which will let me select a color. Maybe I want it to be blue. There we go. So change the whole thing to be blue. Keep in mind contrast while doing this. Right now, as I just set the background to be blue, now suddenly my button is almost invisible. So I would need to actually go back in and change the button, hover over that, and then select button here and edit the button. Maybe now I make it white so that it contrasts with the rest of the site. And now I need to make the text, we'll say blue. So, okay. So as you're doing this, just make sure you're not accidentally choosing color that's going to wash out a lot of what you've made, like it did in this case with the headers and the text. Or you need to change the text to be more visible. And so hopefully that gives you some ideas for what you can do with the Adobe Portfolio in creating this artist profile. It's very versatile and lets you really realize the vision that you want to have for your project and really get your message across in a creative way. So again, I'm looking more here for the creative arrangement of how you want to communicate your ideas and your thoughts about this artist, rather than like, do you have all the right, details listed out and in a very polished and formal way. This isn't an essay, it's a creative project. All right, and I'm sure many of you will still have more questions about Adobe Portfolio, so don't wait till the last minute to start in this project. You want to spend some time just to figure out the platform, figure out the software, and really spend some time to work with the arrangement of each page. Don't just sort of dump some text on the page and call it good. That will receive some lower scores. So you want to make sure you think about your arrangement and how you want to present each page in a creative fashion.